Hello and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy podcast channel. My name is Jed and we are exploring this fantastic book, which is actually a fantastic introduction to philosophy because it addresses one of the most common, key, central beliefs that people carry in our culture, and you are likely influenced by it yourself in some way. That is, everything is relative to personal opinions or perspective, which is fundamental for our human journey, because if we are here to reach truth through the development of understanding, awakening ourselves up to higher insights. By the way, have people had insights before? Are some insights higher, deeper, more profound than others? Could we rank them? How far does it go? What's the most profound insight we can have? Can we stay in it? How long can we stay in that insight? Can that insight be itself an object of understanding? What are we asking? We're asking, what is the reach of the intellect and how do we participate in it most fully ourselves? And of course, for it to be real philosophy and meaningful, we have to ask the next question. By the way, what's the self having that peak experience? So if that's something we're interested in, understanding the nature of ourselves, reality, these peak insights, why are we here? What should we be doing? What happens when we die? Where did we come from? These sorts of questions. What is beauty? What is justice? Then, to answer those questions with satisfaction requires, pursuing the truth. However, we can't pursue truth without also addressing what we carry that is false. Because if we carry false beliefs or images that oppose that journey to reach truth, then, how can we take that journey? So there are two fundamental things that we are discovering as our human quest: reaching truth and purifying what's false. Following by the way, there's a word that we have to use that isn't English called the logos. Language, reason, dialogue, intelligibility, all of these words come together in a single word, logos. So if we're seeking the truth of this or that idea, we could be said to be following the self-logos. Why self-logos? Because that's the end of the journey. That's the one piece at the end of the journey. Not the one piece, but the one self. But of course, we're discovering, while our journey is through the mastery of understanding, making use of what we have the capacity for self-reflection, or ousia, and logos, the two things that make us evolved, it's the level we're evolved at, ousia and logos. If understanding and the dialectic is the skill and art of understanding, it seems that there are things that get in the way of truth that are false and harmful because they block that participation in higher truth. Well, why would we carry something that's false? Why would we carry something that's false and harmful? How could that be? How did that get in there? One word: belief. Because belief is based on appearances, beliefs don't have to be true at all. In fact, anyone who tells you, just believe me, is actually always bad. Because if they want you to stay at the level of belief, they are preventing you from moving into what's actually meaningful understanding. And of course, very easy to see that fascists that try to manipulate human beings to work against their own benefit always and only appeal to belief, never understanding. Why? Well, that's easy. If you understand the truth for yourself, you won't accept the lie as truth. If you understand the true nature of the good, you can't be tricked into believing a bad goal is actually good. If you understand the steps to reach that good goal, you can't be tricked into believing these bad steps could possibly reach the goal. So belief functions in opposition to understanding. And yet, as human beings, we get them from childhood. Before we have a mastery of understanding, which we are learning to do here, we are stuck in a dependent relationship with people who pass off their beliefs and the appearance as knowing as true, as beautiful, as good, as caring, as loving. And these false ideas of truth become what guides our soul and our life, specifically guiding us to false images or appearances of those things and blocking our understanding of what's true. One such fundamental class of belief is the title of this book. Is it all relative? In fact, what we've been exploring is we could recognize fundamentally to go inside the cafe. If we can map our cognitive development from our childhood beliefs, from our perception of the physical world, which we carry as a whole, but functions in its activity through images, the shapes and colors or images we project onto the world. Oh, that's a brown person, scary, bad. That's a woman, oh my goodness. The images. So therefore we call that ignorance, and it's personal. But part of the human journey to go from ignorance into wisdom, or the personal to the transpersonal, through the activity of understanding and answering that question we asked at the opening today. What are of all of the experiences of insight or knowing, we rank them? What's the height of the intellect that we can participate in? And by the way, as we mentioned, it's not meaningful and not true philosophy unless we're also asking the question, what is the self? So two fundamental lines that we are here to cross. Potentially, again, don't just believe me. This is just a way of taking what we learnt from our previous reading, our previous book, Socrates and Jesus, A Dialogue in Heaven, and carrying it with us. But again, we need to see it in this book as well. So this may help guide our understanding, but we need to see it in the book to master the book that we're reading. So if these are the cognitive functions that we move through, and we require a mastery of understanding to cross the green line from ignorance into wisdom, cross the purple line from wisdom into the cause of wisdom, we can recognize, well, that's just one tradition. There is one spiritual tradition. There is one academic tradition. There is one evolutionary process. There is one system of true education. Did I say that one already? The love of understanding. And to distinguish it from everyday understanding, we're not talking about understanding how many beans there are in China. We're understanding mind and self. So we use the Greek word dianoia. Love means, the Greek word for love is philos, so philodianoia, the one spiritual tradition. And by the way, that already existed as a culture. That's called the Hellenic tradition. So that's the one single tradition that we are here to follow, the true race of man, according to the map. But we can recognize, therefore, 4 fundamental categories of ignorance that oppose that development. How can you examine your images if you think there is no such thing as images? Or no real activities? How can you participate in the activity of discovering the images that you project that cause your problems if you think there are no meaningful activities we can engage in? That's called nihilism. The lowest possible worldview and the most lonely. So the objection to not parts in the physical world, but wholes in the physical world, materialism or reductionism. There's only material things, so the image is a rock. Or reducing everything profound to its smallest components. Love is just serotonin, beautiful paintings is just paint, beauty is just electrons, our dreams are just electrons firing. Opposing the, perhaps the most dangerous, that which opposes the very function required to make this journey, to cross the green line and cross the purple line. Speaking of One Piece, we don't have the blue line, the red line. We have our green line and purple line to reach the One Piece itself. So that which opposes the very thing that we're here to master, we can call that the Abrahamic worldview. It's the worldview that says, hey, you don't solve problems through understanding them, because problems are not caused by personal ignorance and the principle of beliefs. No, it's caused by the bad team, the evil Palestinians, the evil Muslims, the evil socialists, the evil woke Antifa. And you can't solve problems by using understanding to address the cause of problems and the principles required to solve problems, to use universal principles to apply universal principles universally to universally benefit. No, we must murder that team. Why? Because they're the devil. They are fundamentally different than us who seek the good. They seek the bad. They're terrorists. So we can see very easily all religious and conservative or right-wing political authorities use this worldview to manipulate human beings to murder each other, to distract from the oppression that the conservatives, the right-wingers, conservatives, and religious authority figures are doing. Yes, kill those Iranians, they're terrorists. They're evil. So it's the worldview that opposes the truth of how we solve problems and reach excellence, understanding the truth of what's the cause of problems, beliefs, and embraces belief by having a class of belief that says all problems are the evil versus the good, and they are disconnected, and all you can do is blow up the other team or side with the winning team. So that's the root belief behind the Abrahamic religions, who are leading our species to extinction. You could also call it Zoroastrian, because some people trace that worldview even before Abraham, to a philosopher named Zoroaster. But it's also called everything is relative. Hey, your opinions are your opinions, my opinions are my opinions. There's no connection, there's no universal truth, and there's no way of hierarchically arranging the different stages or different insights or different understanding or different beliefs and moving through them. Everything is equal and opposite. So a Nazi's view that we should, like Netanyahu should, or Trump's view that we should murder the poor people so we can further exploit them and rape them and torture them and extract all the wealth from them, is equal and opposite to a progressive worldview that we should not do those things because they are bad, and we should in fact help people meet the material conditions for everyone, universally. Universal principles. There's a quote that I heard today, which explains this nicely. Conservatism consists of exactly one proposition, to wit: there must be in-groups to whom the law protects but does not bind, alongside out-groups to whom the law binds but not protects. And that's attributed to Francis M. Willholt. So that's the idea that we're exploring here. It's all relative. The most common, the most dangerous. And we're interested in it because, oh, by the way, that quote. So you're the good team. The law gives you the freedom to, steal, murder, exploit, use capitalism to scam people. But any time someone says you can't sell poison to children, well, that's government overreach. We need to end the government, says the corporations. Whereas anyone who says maybe we should not poison children for the pleasure and profit of the billionaire Epstein class, no, the law must send them to prison or murder them in the streets, as they're currently doing. So that's the functioning of the belief that we are looking at in society. We want to see how it functions within our soul. If our purpose here is to, again, develop the art of dialectic or the skill of dianoia, this is the class that opposes that. Now, because there's a state of knowing or peak experiences of knowing, of mind knowing reality or being itself, different peak experiences that you can move through, the opposition to that even existing. Hey, maybe there are parts in the world, so you're not a nihilist. Maybe there are holes. You can understand problems, you can understand excellence. So you're not a materialist or a reductionist. You can understand your dreams as well, maybe. You're okay with understanding and reasoning. You're not an us versus them fascist. So you're not in the it's all relative. But you're opposed to accepting that maybe understanding that's universal and provides universal benefit has a cause or a source. And if understanding applies always to everything in the physical world, 2 and 2 will always equal 4, A times B will also always equal B times A, etc., etc., then the source of these principles of understanding must exist eternally. And if you don't think that's true, then you'll think, well, yeah, we needed to use understanding, but the best we can do is invent our own system of unity, to take all of our reasoning and understanding and scientific inquiry and bring it together into a whole. That's called a Mickey Mouse. You invent it. So Mickey Mouse has certain things he can do and he won't do. There's a certain reasoning behind his existence, but it's made up. We also call that the isms. So we were exploring, so that gives us a nice basis for the 4 classes of ignorance. And of course, you can have combinations of the different ones, I suppose. You can have different expressions of those. Like, for example, the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are all 3 different variations of this. It's called the 7th hypothesis because 9th, 8th, 7th, and 6th are when Socrates' teacher Parmenides lays them all out. But there are four fundamental classes of ignorance and the one system of truth. Of course, there's always one because that's what truth means. It's transpersonal, which is neat because you don't have to get confused. Right? It'd be very confusing if you wanted to become a mechanic and there were 10 different mechanics in your town, each giving completely opposing views of how to fix an engine. You'd be in a lot of trouble. Thankfully, we recognize there's just one way of fixing an engine. Of course there is. Can't put the carburetor on top of the gasket. It always goes underneath the gasket, or however engines work. Flying a plane is the same thing. When you pull that stick back, the plane will always go up. There is no one saying, well, we are the stick goes down believers. We believe that God said if you pull the stick back of a plane, the plane will go down and not up. That's what we believe, and we have a right to believe that. It doesn't exist. If it did exist, well, we would think they were crazy and maybe give them mental help, but we would never, ever, ever let them fly a plane because it would always crash. The next step is saying, well, if that's true for pilots, if that's true for surgeons, if that's true for mechanics, why the fuck do we allow these people to run religion and run politics? Because they always crash. That's the next stage of our species, if we are to survive, because they're crashing our species. That's called extinction. And that's on the precipice for us as humans. But whether or not enough of us wake up to this realization, we can still do our own purpose. That is, recognize that this, seeing it within society, helps us see it in our soul, magnifies it a little bit. So, if this is what we can go through in our lifetime, we better address this because, as we're saying, we're in a current age where these people run spirituality, they are in religion, they run politics because we allow conservatism to exist, which is horrific. And of course, if we allow that to exist, then they'll just infiltrate everything. So the modern left wing is actually just conservatives who are lying because we allow politicians to lie, which is a weird thing to allow. So therefore, because these people run our current age, we will be influenced by them. So that's what we are addressing. The most prevalent and most dangerous category of the 4 categories of ignorance that block our participation in understanding the one true purpose of all human beings. In principle. Because we have problems. Don't you? You got a problem with your computer, you can't believe it away. You need to find someone who understands how your computer works. Equally so, if you want the excellence, for us it's wisdom, in a computer, I want to make my computer go faster. You can't believe it, so all you can do with belief is smash your computer to bits. That's why only harm results from belief. So we need understanding for excellence. That's true for everyone, always. And of course, we're recognizing if there is a excellence, there must be even a source of that. So an even higher or ultimate excellence, crossing the purple line. So that's always true for everyone. Hooray. The human difficulty is we're raised in a society ruled by beliefs, and in a family for the first 18 years of life where all we know is beliefs. So the human difficulty is we are blindly loyal to some fundamental, unsuspected, false beliefs that we carry, will exist in one of these 4 categories, opposing our development. So the people who we should be listening to, we won't. Not only will we not listen to them, we will hate them because they challenge our dearly held beliefs that we think we need. Also, as these are stages of cognitive development as we follow the self-logos to its source, the self, so our ultimate one-piece goal, the self, or the self-logos, so too these 4 classes of ignorance are under the heading of the pathologos. So those are some background. So that's why we're reading the book. It's the most important false belief that will block anyone from participating in philosophy, true philosophy, or philodianoia, love of understanding. Now, that's absolutely necessary, individually and collectively, but most importantly individually for you, but also relationships. Because relationships just play out this dynamic. You're either both working together towards a shared goal, which we are calling philodianoia, the ideal of self and mind. Working together, seeing higher and higher levels of beauty within each other, participating in that beauty in higher levels of profundity, while also addressing our false beliefs. That's the universal human activity. You're either doing that, or you are using the energy of your relationship or the immediacy of your intimacy to further entrench yourself in the very false beliefs you are supposed to be removing. There's no third option. You're either living a life entrenching yourself in the false pathologos of yourself, or you're perfecting the logos of self. Therefore, super important for us to be reading this book, because it gets in the way from even beginning the development of a positive relationship with your soul, with society, or with a beloved. Now, in the book, there's our introduction. We don't need the people yet. You can all go away. We have Miss Aaliyah entering the conversation. She's been on the sidelines, and now she's in the game. She's saying, look, here's the issue. Harry has been defending that idea that everything is relative. It's all a matter of personal opinions, personal perspective. That's all truth is. The best you can do is give the appearance of being an expert, and if you can trick enough believers to believe you, then that's just the same as being an expert. So therefore, truth, philosophy, the human method of reaching truth, is a waste of time, because there is no truth. And there's no skill you have to master called the dialectic. That's rubbish. Why? Because you don't need skill to just express your dumb opinions and beliefs. You don't need any skill or discipline to express what you feel. Hey, just say, oh, this is my belief. And you'll find people who believe it. Have a little group with them. Or if you want to be a bit of a Nazi, call yourself a pastor, or an imam, or a rabbi, or a preacher, or a minister, or a bishop. You don't need to do anything for that. Just claim it. And then you get to a spot on Fox News as you vomit your stupid beliefs, so long as it serves the billionaire Epstein class. I'm an expert. Why? Because I'm a pastor. What? What's your qualification? Nothing. I just agree with all of my own beliefs. Not only that, I feel entitled to force my beliefs on others because I'm saying God says so. Oh, you mean like the king? Yes. This German family who's exploiting the entire UK, doing horrific things, sitting on a gold throne. Yes. They are only doing that because God... You know what that means, Chatter? Because God gave us the divine right to rule. Oh, you mean like the Zionist Jews doing a genocide in Palestine? Yes. It's not just their belief that they should have all Palestinian land. God said so. Oh, the same thing that the Nazis are using? Yeah. And Trump is using to do the same thing? Yes. Haven't you seen Donald Trump posting AI himself as AI Jesus? So Harry has been representing that view, and he was led to a point, led to realize that every time he was asked to make a conclusion by following reasoning, he sensed that that conclusion was threatening his own personal beliefs. And he would keep moving the goalposts. And Joseph said, hey, by the way, have you ever seen these religious people who say, the world will end this year, and then it doesn't end? No, the world will end next year, and Jesus will come back then. In fact, this Armageddon and rapture was supposed to happen in Paul's lifetime. Thumbs down. 2,000 years ago. But do you ever notice that they keep changing the goalpost? They keep changing the evidence and they never question their beliefs? How are you doing that in this discussion? By the way, Harry wasn't able to conclude. So our friend Joseph, demonstrating the dialectic we're here to learn, took the other angle. Okay, let me give you another example, another hypothetical. Let's say I go to a math department and I say, sometimes A times B doesn't equal B times A. Or a science department and I say, hey, this evidence and experimentation, it doesn't work. What would happen? Harry said, well, they'll laugh at you. Wouldn't they give us reasoned explanations and demonstrations and proofs as to why my beliefs were wrong? They wouldn't just shake their head and say, no, I don't believe it. So we have a standard for truth that we are recognizing fits within the structure of this dialectic that we are learning. Reasoned explanation of the subject itself in relation to itself. Demonstration of how it functions to something else. Dividing that functioning up into stages or divisions or proof, leading to a conclusion. And we're seeing that someone who is carrying a belief that opposes understanding, it's all relative to personal opinions, they can be blocked at any one of those stages. For instance, Harry is not making conclusions. Harry sees where this is going, and he has a moment of honesty where he says, you know what? Everything you say I'm going to reframe as just your belief, even though you're demonstrating it isn't a belief. You're asking me questions, step by step, through reason, following, using reason, evidence, and proof. And you know why? Because if what you're saying is true, that there is a standard of truth and objective, and it's not just personal and a matter of opinion, I don't know what I would believe if you were right and that were true. He's rubbing up against his fear of losing that belief. Why? Because all we know for the first 16, 18 years of our life, that we learned about all of these things, all we know is the beliefs that we grew up with and the fear or peril at not having those beliefs. If you don't toe the family line, you'll be ignored, you'll be mocked, you'll be threatened, you'll be kicked out of the family, and they might even kill you. So we think we need these beliefs we're identified with, which is the nature of all human problems. A fear of mind and a loyalty to false beliefs we think we need and identify with. So he's reached his limit and he pulls in his girlfriend. I tried to shorten it to be cool, but I wasn't very good.
Calm your fucking tits.
I'm sorry.
Listen and learn, morons. This is gangster.
Yes, very gangster.
Freaks.
Hey. So bringing in Aaliyah. Aaliyah said, hang on, I don't quite believe it to the extent he does, but you know what? I've noticed that when I'm engaged in a conversation, there's always that one bastard who, we're doing really nicely, we're exploring ideas, we're learning, we're making progress, and then someone sticks his stupid head up and says, well, everything's just a matter of opinion. Which brings that conversation to a screeching halt. Everyone goes quiet. The logos dies, the very reason for our existence. to explore ideas together through reasoned reflection or the dialectic ideally. Yes, as our friend in the chat had just said, everything is just a matter of opinion. As soon as someone drops that, everyone goes silent, all the good work goes out the window, you all turn into dumb morons who can't say anything. Oh, what's the point of exploring the truth of an idea if that's just your opinion? Let's read it in the text. Aaliyah saying, I used to get into some discussions that were going along fine when some fool would throw out one of those catchphrases or aphorisms. That is, and what do? It either ends the discussion as everyone retreats into a silent stupor, or I end up feeling foolish because I can't silence that fool. I don't know enough about that ignorant false belief that everything is opinion, so just shut up. Don't discuss politics or religion at the stream or at the dinner table or in school because there's no truth. Who cares if that religion's doing a genocide, or that religion says that women are cattle, or that politician is murdering his civilians, or doing a holy war, or doing a genocide? That's just an opinion, and if your opinion is not doing it, then that's just as true as that he is doing it. So shut up and keep killing people for the billionaire Epstein class. So unless we understand that aphorism or catchphrase, we might end up feeling foolish because we can't silence that bullshit because we don't understand it well enough. So here are the kinds of things that we're likely to hear from these people. What seems true to anyone is true to whom it seems so. And by the way, that was Aaliyah's father's favorite saying, so probably had a strong influence on her growing up. This is my father's favorite aphorism, and he'd put an end to any discussion with it. And if that didn't work, he'd say, anyway, all good questions can only be answered by experts, and you're not one. Another way of silencing the very purpose and reason for human existence, the necessary activity necessary to solve problems and remove our suffering, and necessary to reach truth and perfect our excellence. And if you're not doing it, you're doing it anyway. You're still thinking, you're still reasoning, you're still living, you're still having relationships. You are just doing them in a way that pours psychic energy into maintaining and strengthening your sickness. That's the stakes of this bullshit. Like, imagine the father. Look at this kid, cleverer than me, asking good questions that I don't ask. But look how great when I come in and I say, hey, everything's personal opinion or only the realm of experts. I feel like a big, tough man. I'm too stupid to learn anything, but I feel so strong and knowing that I'm able to silence good people. How belief functions. You need understanding to do good, but a believer can destroy a computer, can't fix a computer, blow up a plane, can't fix a plane, blow up every single university in Palestine, can't actually create a university. That's why conservatives don't ever offer any policies. All they do is grievance shit. Oh, but the left. We need to stop universities. We need to stop reading books. So imagine her father getting a kick out of giving the appearance or cosplaying a Noah. So we need to stop ourselves from doing that. And also answer these jerks when they get in the way of our literal meaning of life. So Aaliyah says, I'm going to represent these views, but if I get into any trouble, I'm going to ask for help. Joseph, before we begin, could you order something for me to go along with my coffee? We have a sip of coffee. So Joseph says, I want to understand your position because I grew up with these ideas too. And even so, I've seen you sitting on the sidelines of these talks. So I'd like to ask you, Aaliyah, about these aphorisms or catchphrases you referred to. At first, I would like to know something more about why you're drawn to these sorts of talks that we philosophers have. Aaliyah says, well, I'd like to think that something matters. Because if everything is a matter of opinion, nothing matters. Right? Because you can just change opinions. If everything is just make-believe, why try and do anything? I like to think that something matters in this world. I think I listen for it, but I don't trust what I hear because so much of what is usually talked about ends up being nothing other than comparing opinions about something that some expert has some answer to. Modern academic idea of philosophy. Debate. Or worse yet, some reason for not asking about it. You go to hell if you ask that question. You'll be out of the stream if you talk about understanding here. Literally, that's happened to me all the time. I think there's only one online space I've ever found that doesn't immediately ban me from participating in understanding. It's all silence. Get out of here. We're going to ignore you, then we're going to mock you, then we're going to threaten you, and then we're going to kick you out. It's always the same script. That's the nature of human ignorance. So maybe I can put it another way, says Aaliyah. What good is discussing anything if nothing I ever hear matters to me personally? Which is why at the top of this episode we said, hey, by the way, even when we're discussing the human journey to move from human ignorance, the cause of all human problems, beliefs, into human excellence, being able to open our own consciousness up to deeper and deeper insights into the nature of mind itself, we don't stop there. Crossing this green line from ignorance to wisdom ain't the end. Why? Because what good is discussing anything if it doesn't apply to the self? In other words, cross the purple line. Everything we're talking about, we keep in mind as we read, this is all about the self. Yes, it's easy to use politics and religion because they are the venerations of beliefs. Instead of going through our literal human purpose in surfacing, understanding, and letting go of, or getting rid of our personal beliefs, the worst members of our species say, no, I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to say my stupid beliefs are the best thing because God. And my family is the best family because God. And the people I don't like, I get to hurt because God. Conservatism and religion. So even when we're exploring that, we keep in mind that's about the self. That's a easy to see demonstration in the physical world or in society, but we are wondering about the self. What do I carry that's a false belief? When am I not surfacing my beliefs and purifying them? What problems do I have that have an unsuspected false belief as its cause? What are my dreams telling me? It's all about the self. And even those false beliefs are problems because people identify the self with them. Or as the Oracle says,
personality maxing requires you to look inward on a deeper level, and it's harder to fix. Because then you have to make fundamental changes to who you are as a person.
And it's because it feels like a much more core component of themselves that they don't want to change. Like, it's like, well, then if I change this, who am I?
personality maxing is hard because we identify ourselves with it. So even problems are about the self, the distorted shadow of the self. And even when we cross this line from our physical world experiences or ignorance into the peak states of mind or beauty or bliss, even in those moments of wisdom, we wonder, what's the self that caused it? Or what's the self that's experiencing it? Because experiences have an end, even the highest peaks. But you know what doesn't? Self. Crossing the purple line. From the penultimate to the ultimate. So, what good is discussing anything if it doesn't apply to us personally or the self? Like, I don't have a stake in any system, says Aaliyah, or any political matter, except maybe stopping them from turning the world into a cesspool, the earth into a cesspool. Joseph replies, well, we do share some things. I wonder if the biggest task in saving ourselves and the planet may be seeing through the beliefs that prevent us from saving ourselves. So what do we need to save ourselves? Understanding. What's the class of belief that's fundamentally opposed to understanding? The third one, it's all relative, or Abrahamic, or Zoroastrian. So our biggest issue is addressing this idea here to save ourselves and our planet. Also, whether we would see anyone saying that everything is relative as we sink deeper into that cesspool. So as problems get worse and worse, so people who say, oh yeah, allow conservatives to exist. That won't do any problems. Oh, what's Donald Trump doing? Killing hundreds of thousands of children in America by taking away all funding and getting his cronies to just scam people from money while defunding all social services. Racing towards Armageddon. Oh, crap. I guess everything isn't relative, and some beliefs are not true just because Christians or MAGA believe them to be true. Oh yeah, and these Jewish religious people, they can be very easily galvanized into doing a genocide, so long as you appeal to their stupid religious beliefs, because beliefs are opposed to truth. It's only about authority. Only. There are no good beliefs. And there are some people out there who don't have the courage to say that. They say things like, well, fundamentalist beliefs are bad. Okay, tell me which religious beliefs are good. By the way, the standard religious beliefs, problems are caused by evil, so violence is okay, punishment is okay. Is that good? To murder people because you can't solve problems because the devil made you do it? What about, never noticed that there are no women popes or imams or bishops or rabbis because women are treated like cattle? No, that's certainly nothing wrong with that. That's just normal. What about the fundamental opposition to reason and evidence? You can't believe in evolution. You understand evolution, understand that dinosaurs exist, understand the true nature, the true age of the earth. That's the devil. Thinking and reasoning is the devil, because thinking and reasoning undermines tyranny, or just believe me or else you suffer in hell. By the way, is that a good one? These Abrahamic religions do threaten eternal torture in a lake of fire if you question anything the beloved pastor or imam or rabbi says. Is that good? Because that's normal. No, that's all good. It's the ones that are wackos, the fundamentalists, the ones that you can see immediately in your perception. See, that's the thing. If you think about someone flying a plane that you're on, all of a sudden you won't say everything is relative. Hey, this rich guy just did a line of coke and he thinks he can land the plane. Should we let him? No. No, but he really believes he can. I don't care. Beliefs are stupid. We need someone who understands how to fly a plane. Ah, so now it matters. So while it seems like a church full of people being told that they have to believe and reject their understanding, otherwise they burn in a lake of fire forever, that doesn't seem to do any immediate harm. Just have to take one more step. Holy wars, genocide. The galvanization of religious fear of the other used by MAGA. But we don't want to be impolite. Let the Jews do the genocide. Let the Christians murder millions of innocent Iranian people or Iraqi people. Yeah, sure. We don't want to be impolite. Let the Nazis, supported by the church, exterminate millions of innocent people. Yeah, we don't want to be rude, do we? It's just the fundamentalists. See, that's the issue. If we can understand the principle, we won't be scammed into silence. And by the way, you're not helping anyone by saying some religion's good. Because that little old lady with the 84 crosses in her kitchen, she's not doing a suicide bombing, but you know what she is doing? Every single day, she's at war within her own soul. She is suffering. That matters. That matters. She fears going to hell because no one's as perfect as Jesus. It's bullshit. She never addresses the problems that she's here to do. She never learns understanding, which is her literal reason for life, because it's the reason for all life, who has evolved the ability of self-reflection with language. It matters for that one person. Also, she'll have kids, maybe. Or maybe she's a teacher. There'll be a time where she is doing something where she has influence and she'll slip in her false beliefs to others. Maybe she's a math teacher. And a girl answers a question and she says, "Shut up, girls don't speak in the classroom. It says so in the Bible." That matters. Because that can affect that kid. She'll lose her love of math. Now imagine how much worse the children that she raised herself. They're stuck in a box. That matters. And whenever there's a holy war, it's these regular, non-fundamentalist religious people that are galvanized by the Netanyahus, by the IDF, by the Trumps of the world, by the Hitlers of the world. If we don't understand the true nature of problems and we allow this religious horseshit to exist, mass murder, genocide, torture, and extinction always follows. There is no other ending other than extinction if we allow beliefs to exist as a ruling feature within our soul or within our society. Because the definition of belief is all of these self-logos terms we are learning to utilize providentially through dialectic, whole and part, same and different. Belief is the cognitive function where you identify with the lesser term. We are only a part. We accept the limitations of our religion. We only wear Mormon underpants. We only do soaking because...
Goon.
That's right. Because Mormons are weird gooners with the soaking and the magic underpants.
Gooners.
They're weird
Goon.
But it's not just identification with the lesser. Belief functions in opposition to the greater. Religious people kill the best of us. within your soul, the best aspects of your own soul, your relationships, and of course society and now species. Takes courage to say that. Why? Because our society is still holding on to, not when you're in the plane, but our society still holds on to the belief that it's rude to say that beliefs are bad. Because everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and who are you to say it's bad to say that women are less than men? Joseph Smith invented this religion. He was a scammer. Everyone knew he was a scammer. It's quite well documented. But who gives a shit? Allow him to manipulate people. Because everyone's entitled to their opinion. We need to grow a spine and say, no, that's not true. People see through their beliefs, and if we don't allow understanding as the principle, always genocide results or extinction results. Because in principle, by definition, that's what it is. By demonstration, that's how it functions. Whenever they rule any division of our society, death and destruction sweep across the land, and the inevitable conclusion is the extinction of our species and the destruction of our planet. Takes courage to tell the truth, though. The great thing about understanding is, just because you were wrong, you're not going to be murdered. Because the reason you're wrong is not because the devil is in you or you're a sinner. That's the it's all relative to personal beliefs bullshit. The reason you were wrong is because you are holding on to a false belief that was a kind of solution to surviving a culture in your upbringing that no longer applies. So all problems are fundamentally a solution that no longer applies. It's never about blame or shame or punishment. Is what we're learning. So we want to be able to see that in its entirety. So whenever someone comes along and says, hey, stop talking. Why? Are you an expert? No, I'm an idiot. Then why are you saying that? Oh, I want to feel like I'm really smart. Because if I say everything is a relative to all personal opinion, I don't have to learn anything about the subject. And I'm just as good as you because I'm claiming to be on the same footing as you. That's why it appeals to dumb people. Any idiot can say it and feel like they're just as smart. It's that meme from, not Charlie Kirk, the other guy. The other right-wing fascist propagandist. He's sitting at a college campus saying, I'm a racist, prove me wrong, and he's sitting there all smug. He's an idiot. But he gets to pretend to be daddy or the ruler of the house by saying no to everything and never changing his mind. It's a scam. That's why we need the dialectic. The people with the skill guiding the reflection on an idea, coming to universal truth and understanding, and silencing these morons. Including that moronic voice within your own mind that silences you when you're doing well. That's the most important one, remember? So if we want to save ourselves and the planet, we have to see through the beliefs that prevent us from saving ourselves. And by the way, as the world sinks further and further into that cesspool that belief leads us to, I wonder if people will still use that expression, everything is relative. Right? When it's you being led by Trump's ICE Gestapo to the concentration camps, maybe you won't be a supporter of MAGA so hard. So now I'd like to hear those deadly aphorisms or buzzwords and catchphrases that you mentioned. So that's where we are. So let's keep reading from here. now that we've done a really long introduction, but I think it's important to talk about the stakes of what we're doing and why we're doing it and why it's important for us to do every day, every moment really. This is the most potentially dangerous belief that can affect our soul and our life because it blocks us from our actual purpose. Why seek the One Piece if you are convinced the One Piece doesn't exist? Why fulfill your purpose, mastering the dialectic to solve your problems and reach your excellence and know the self if you're convinced that there is no understanding? Cuts everything down. Like that idiot that Aaliyah mentioned. The idiot at the party who just says, well, everything's opinion, so shut up. Oh well, great. Bet you're fun at parties. So, that's the stakes. Worth the big introduction. Reminding me where we're at the text as well, because I'm also nurturing this into my soul. And let's jump in. Damn it. There we go. Bringing our cast, we have Mr. Joseph, we have Mr. Harry, and we have the beautiful Aaliyah. So, let's hear those catchphrases that silence conversation, brings it to a screeching halt, and makes you even feel foolish for not being able to silence the fool. Sure, that's easy. I hear them all the time. When you string them all together, you've got the wisdom of the ages. It's all relative. Who's to say who is right or wrong? Every culture has its own rights and wrongs. Don't make value judgments. To each his own. And the cutest of them all, what's true to anyone is true to him to whom it seems so. And it all boils down to, it doesn't matter. But here I am, still looking for something that matters. I can come up with others if you give me a little time. No, Aaliyah, it looks like you've had enough of them. You've been observing from the sidelines, and I'm glad to see you've crossed over. It's good to explore these notions with someone like yourself. It is a way of testing our understanding. Another thing, if it should turn out that I need help, I might be able to call on Sophronicus. He's the friend of the owner of this store, this cafe we're in, that I mentioned. And I might discuss it with him and his circle of friends. Speaking of One Piece, Luffy's crew can call on the old members of the Whitebeard crew and his circle of friends. I don't know. Analogy.
I have a sickness for the thickness.
I'm too pure.
Exactly.
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
Hey, not relevant.
I'm gonna get you. I don't know why. I don't know why. But I am gonna get you.
I deserve that. The sound drops didn't really hit for that zoom. It's a way of testing our understanding. Oh yeah. However, that's not likely to help me now, since he usually comes around later in the day, so maybe we'll see Sophronicus later. So let's explore this idea together, Aaliyah. Wow, with a name like that, I think I'm in for a surprise. It's clear you've explored these ideas before, and probably many times. But what do you see when you test someone's understanding? What do we look for when we explore ideas? That may not be easy to explain, but I'll try. Whenever it's possible to examine these ideas in dialogues, I find it rewarding because it gives me a chance to view them with someone else's understanding. That doesn't answer my question, does it? Well, what I find remarkable by going through dialogues like this one is that I can focus on what, to me, is mysterious. making beliefs visible, understanding what maintains them, and what brings about their dissolution. You see, these ideas seem to possess such vast power over men's minds. Yet once they are seen for what they are, they dissipate like the morning mist. But if there is one I can't resolve, then I always discover that there is something I overlooked in that very belief. Perhaps in the way it was put, or the manner it was being held. Now, to the extent that I was unaware of it, I too had that belief. When this happens, pardon me, I am interested in discovering why I held to it and why it escaped my notice. I can't say you aren't optimistic, Joseph. Equally, I can't say your answer was good enough for me either. But I don't know what else to say. The question was, what do you look for? Was it? What do you see? Yeah, what do you see? So he's talking about his state of mind. What does he perceive when you explore ideas? You're not looking at images. Like for us, we have recognized that when we explore ideas, we use a certain set of certain structure, the dialectic, of course. But we also use certain key terms: whole, part, same, different, like, unlike, beauty, justice, goodness, reality, lesser, greater, ultimate. The self is. Does he see them? Because you don't see them in the physical world, not with your physical senses. They have scope over the physical world, sure, as adjectives. Does he see them as nouns? And instead of asking what he does see, he talks about looking for what he doesn't see. What don't I see about this belief? And if I miss something, that means I still have it myself. Is there something unique in that person's expression of this false belief that sheds light on my own holding of this false belief? What maintains them? Either why I held on to it, why I escaped my notice, the way it was put, the way it was being held. What did I not see? What have I yet to see to completely dissolve my own false belief? So she answered, what do you see? She asked, what do you see when you participate in the dialectic? And he answered, what he doesn't see. I wonder why he answered in that way. And what does it say about our friend Aaliyah that she noticed that her question wasn't really answered? I can't say your answer wasn't good enough for me. She still has a question, which is important. Just as we carry the idea of self to make this meaningful as we read, we carry questions as we read as well. To carry a question is to be on a quest. A noise from the game that must not be played. Oh, I love it so, but I mustn't play it. I mustn't. It's too good of a game. So, doesn't really answer a question, but she doesn't know what to say either. Anyway, I'll do my best. And either way, I can't lose. Or, as the Oracle puts it, which one?
There's only two options at the end of an argument. One, you're wrong, but now you always get to be right about that topic going forward, so you get to learn something, which is always a plus. Or two, you're right and you get to revel in being right. It's a win-win-win-win-win-win.
Can't lose. So here we are. Joseph. Now that we're going to explore this position, we must come to an understanding of what are its parts and what binds those parts together into a whole. So, good thing for us, we've been doing this work on these maps. Because already we recognize, when we explore the three aspects of our soul, that which reasons, that which seeks outwardly, that which desires inwardly, we recognize that we seek truth or true activities. We want to do meaningful and true activities. We want the truth of what we seek. We desire for us what we think is our goodness, or what is our goodness. And we reason by bringing ideas together into a oneness. Right? And within the category of oneness, whole and part. It's a kind of oneness that's a whole of all parts. So the individual terms within that subheading, he seems to be beginning or using to lead his discussion. So we can look for the structure of the dialectic, and we can look for the terms that guide. Again, the map to find the One Piece. Mastery of the art of dialectic. So, after that, it should be easy to name. It should be an easy task to name it by bringing the parts into a whole and seeing what binds. After that, it should be an easy task to name it and make sure that its name fits. So part of the dialectic is naming things as well, and judging the name to make sure it fits. But what its proper name should be, I think, will require some time for reflection. However, since that task may take a while, it looks like we are going to have to keep referring to it as this position for now. First then, what is this position? And when someone holds it to be true, do they want their words to be treated seriously, or do they advance this position merely for dramatic purposes and humor? Are they trolling? Without really having that position themselves, does their position both challenge and question the legitimacy of other systems of thought, while boasting that it asserts no position of its own? Can the proponents of this position criticize others and yet escape scrutiny themselves? By the way, do we see this a lot? The fascists of the world, the Donald Trumps and the Netanyahus and the Tucker Carlsons will say they're bad and they should be in prison and they're radical lefts. And then when they are criticized, no, I'm just asking questions. Or Joe Rogan, I'm just a comedian. Or Trump, I don't remember that. Hey, it's all just a matter of opinion. That's just my belief. I just said it was my belief. So I can criticize your way of being and put you in a concentration camp, but when it's me, hey, this is my personal belief. Everything's just a matter of opinion. Sometimes, when it suits me. There's an idea he's bringing in. So it sounds like Joseph has an understanding of this position already, maybe because he's gone through this kind of exploration to surface its functioning within his own soul. Aaliyah. Well, if they're joking, they do so very seriously. in deadly earnest. They always want their words to be taken as a challenge. You might say that the way they challenge others is like the way some men show their contempt for those who disagree with them. Interesting. I'd say they are often rude, especially to those who dare suggest that there may be some truth. So what do we see? It's an interesting position because if they are discounting truth at all, and it's just all personal belief, they seem to have contempt for those who disagree with them, like a priest or a parent or a conservative. How dare you challenge me? How dare you challenge me, the great authority figure? I'm your priest. I'm your leader. I'm your parent. And they can be rude. Has Josh been rude? Josh. Yeah, Joseph, sorry. Harry has been. So there's an associated, what we're seeing is each of these possible positions that humans can have. 5, the 4 false ones and the true one. They also carry with them a certain state of mind and a way of functioning. Okay? Joseph. Surely they challenge others, but don't they also claim that what they say is true? There's a hypocrisy in that statement. Aren't they saying that whatever seems true to anyone is true to him, to whom it seems so? And they don't regard that statement to be true for everyone. And don't they They regard that statement to be true for everyone. They sure do. But consider this. If I make a judgment that my sandals, so analogy is another tool of the dialectician. If I make a judgment that my sandals are good for my feet, who would be the best judge of whether or not my statement is true? Judgment. Should it be someone who has knowledge of how shoes and sandals affect the feet? Or someone who has no knowledge of this? Knows nothing of this. Now, as we've seen with Harry, one of the aspects of everything is relative means no judgment. No meaning, no judgment. Let's put it on the board. Sound drop.
Please end kink shaming on your show.
Kink shaming.
Perverts. Let's be honest. Gooner.
So that's right on the board. It's all relative. We've seen there's no truth, only opinion. We've seen there's no meaning. As Aaliyah points out, nothing meaningful in this sort of conversation with these sort of jabronis. No judgment. Don't judge me. Don't judge religion. That's rude. Or as Socrates said it in the last book, our tradition reveals truth, belief traditions what was it? Obscure truth, high truth. Damn it. It's a good one. It's a banger quote. So let's get it nailed down. With piety, what we might call politeness, or appealing to religion. That's anti-Semitic. That's anti-Christian. Our mysteries reveals truth. Yours conceal it with piety. That's the banger line. Put it on a bumper sticker. So, what's going on here? No judging. No judgment. Oh, great if you're a parent who never wanted to be judged so they could pretend to know stuff they don't in their house. Or if you're a fascist politician, right-winger, conservative. Or if you're a religious official, all of which manipulate many, this no judgment idea might be very appealing to them. Isn't it interesting that they also act in this way? Everyone's entitled to their own belief, so don't criticize religion. And if you criticize your religion, my religion, then you're not entitled to that belief. That's objectively wrong. There is no objective truth, so allow religion and conservatism to exist and capitalism to exist. To be ruled by the personal beliefs of billionaires, the Epstein class. So there's no truth, so don't judge us. Oh, but there is truth when we are judging you. Bringing us back to that fundamental hypocrisy of belief. One rule for thee, another for me. So now we're asking the question, what about knowledge? So if I make a statement about my feet and my sandals, knowledge. Who should be able to talk about it? Who has the expertise? Someone who knows nothing, or someone who has knowledge of podiatry? Podiatry. Aaliyah says, someone who has that knowledge. Joseph, and if it were important for you to know whether or not my statement was true, so adding importance, which we did already with the idea of if you were in the plane, if it were important for you to know whether or not my statement was true, wouldn't you want to discover on what basis I made my judgment? It's also important because belief or opinions doesn't have to have any basis of truth. It's just believing what you're told. Basis. For judgment. Why did you say that? And Trump would say, "Shut up, piggy." Literally, he says that to reporters. Fake news. Netanyahu would say, anti-Semitic. On what basis did you make the judgment that it was good to murder those thousands of innocent Palestinian children? What's your basis? My basis is, shut up, you're anti-Semitic. So, if we were being rational and not, I wouldn't say evil, because evil may imply the existence of the devil, but horrific, sadistic, the worst of our species. We weren't being like that, and we want to be rational. We would ask, what's the basis for making judgments on what's good, if it's important? Of course, says Aaliyah. So, in general, if someone were to ask another on what basis they claim their judgments are true, wouldn't they be pleased to share with them what had convinced them what they say is true? Notice, a certain state of mind for the Philodianoia, the Hellenic person, the rational person. These people get butthurt and indignant and mean, and what's the word she used? Contempt, if you question them, because they can't give a basis for their belief. Or as the Oracle says,
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
they stupided their way into that stupid position, whereas someone who reasoned their way in would be delighted. Oh yes, I love to share the reasoning for why I made that judgment. It gives me an opportunity to practice my understanding, which is literally the meaning of life for human beings. It's our highest function and purpose. To practice our understanding of what's most meaningful and true. Because understanding, well, knowing happens out of time. Well, going back to our out of time, understanding functions in time. So that's what we do with our waking life. Is that neat? Is that a neat way of living? Recognizing every moment as an opportunity to practice and share and practice your understanding with others. I think it's neat. What do you think?
I think it's so awesome.
Thank you. And you would be correct. So please, so there is a state of mind as well accompanies each of these positions. Please to share with them what convinced them, what they say is true. Aaliyah says, yeah. Yeah. She says, yeah. And Joseph says, and do you agree that whatever has convinced them must be different from what is said to be true? What? Whatever convinced them must be different from what is said to be true. What does that mean? Oh, he means the people who stupided their way in.
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into positions.
So there's something different that convinced the believers than what convinced the Hellenic or the understanders. Back to the text. That's the one. So whatever convinced those other people, the relativistic people, must be different from what is said to be true. Of course. And when asked what convinced them of this position, that what seems true to anyone is true to him to whom it seems so, what other answer can they give other than, if it seems so, it must be true? The common sense people. What convinced you? It's common sense. It seemed true to me, and if it seems true, it's true. Right? So if that's their position, it's true to whoever it seems, then all they can say, well, it seemed true, so it must be true. But they might not use the word true. It seemed so. Because, of course, we recognize their position and principle is opposed to truth. Because, as we've seen, oneness, goodness, and truth are the three primary words with all of their sub-members of the sets. The primary words to define being, mind, or intellect. So if you're opposed to crossing the green line, you're opposed to truth. for this position here as opposed to truth. So they might not use the word truth. It seemed so. They'll use a surrogate. And in a similar way, what is it again that you say is true? Would you give what seems true to anyone is true to whom it seems so? What? If you were asked that question, would you say what seems true to anyone is true to him whom it seems so? Elia says, well, if I gave you that, it would seem to me that they aren't different. At least, the idea of seems so appears to me to be central to both. Harry, what do you think about this? Are they the same or different? Harry's back. That happens to be a compound sentence, actually, containing both. But just because it's got two parts in one doesn't mean those parts are the same. And what of those two parts? Look here, if you feel you're right and base your judgment on that fact. So if you feel you're right, I feel I'm right. I agree with all of my own opinions. Right. If you feel you're right and base your judgment on that fact, then that's the way it seems to you. And the judgment is based upon the way it appears to you. Now, do you understand, Elia? Don't fall for his rhetorical arguments. Just stay in there and stick to the position, because there's nothing weak about the position itself. Notice a certain way of relating to people. What did Elia call it? Rude. What a rude thing to say. That Joseph has just been asking questions carefully according to a structure, is using rhetorical tricks. So we can ask, how did someone like Elia, someone who seems to be interested in philosophy, end up with a jerk like him? Well, by the way, she did say her father, who is her model for masculine beauty and goodness and truth, had the same position as this jerk. I wonder if our models for truth in childhood were also our models for goodness, beauty, justice, benefit, excellence. If so, then perhaps the people we find ourselves automatically or naturally attracted to reflect our very problem. And we should instead go for people like Mr. Joseph here, who's interested in bettering himself through the development of understanding, and also surfacing and purifying the false beliefs he carries, which we're doing here. Otherwise, what's your model of beauty and love? We did mention that briefly. Oh, we didn't actually finish that idea. We said, hey, two people in a relationship, if you have a shared ideal, a transpersonal ideal that you're seeking, truth, excellence, self, that's the model of the healthy relationship. Otherwise, this person has their own image of beauty and justice. This person has their own image and beauty of beauty and justice. And they'll both try and force that on each other, causing their conflict. Even worse, these models are similar enough to each other that they spend their lives and their intimacy and their sexuality and everything else further entrenching themselves in that false image of beauty, justice. Oh, it's the shadow of enlightenment. If our goal is through understanding to reach together truth, beauty, justice, oneness, the good, or mind, people who are not engaged in what we're doing here are doing its distorted shadow, further entrenching themselves in their false belief. Maybe that's why someone as great as Aaliyah ended up with someone like Harry here. We can wonder. So, being a bit rude. Hey, don't listen to him. There's nothing weak in our position, baby. Aaliyah says. It just goes round and round. So what's the question? Seems so appears to be central to both. I don't know what he's asking here. If they were asked, they'd say, whatever seems so, it must be so. Then he said, well, if you're asked again what you say is true. Oh, I see. So he's saying, hey, explain what convinced you of your belief. And they said, well, it seems so, and whatever is true is whatever it seems to be true. Whatever seems true is true. Okay, now that very statement you say, is that true? Is what you're saying true only because it seems to be true? And Aaliyah says, well, it seems to just go around and what seems. Goes around and around. Harry is saying it's got two parts. Seems so is so. That statement, seemed true, is true. So, seems like that doesn't really help. Aaliyah says, just goes round and round. Joseph. This question about the parts is a good one, so we're still on parts. And he's judging the question. But I have another problem with the meaning of the term appears. Now, should I address this to you, Aaliyah, or to Harry? Aaliyah! Oh, I'll run and hide behind my girlfriend. Then in terms of this position, when they say what appears to them, do they mean what they perceive? So what are we learning? Another part of the dialectic, so he's following a structure, he's addressing the key parts of the argument. That is, they can criticize others while not being criticized themselves. Aaliyah says, by the way, it functions as a state of mind as having contempt for those who disagree with their position and being rude. Joseph says, okay, I can go the other side, so you told me what they are doing. I'm telling you what they are not doing. They're not pleased to explore ideas. So we're getting... Remember, if we want to understand this position, we want to take all of these aspects and build our own dialect. So we're saying, what would define the position itself? self itself, definition. How would it demonstrate it in your state of mind? So this stuff about being rude and having contempt would be how it functions in a state of mind. You could say how that state of mind relates to other people, relationships, who you pick as a partner, how you talk to your partner, how you relate to philosophers in a cafe, etc., etc. So the idea is to take these key ideas from the text and arrange them yourself to turn it into understanding for yourself. But for any of these, you could do the opposite. A dialectic on it's all relative and a dialectic on understanding, or Hellenic, or dianoia, philodianoia. Or any of these, you could say, okay, I'm talking about, when I'm exploring the idea of it's all relative, I can say what it is, what is true about it, what's true about it, and how it functions. Contempt, rude. But I can also say what's false or not true. What's not true is they're never pleased to share and test their understanding of what convinced them of their position. And there's one more thing you can say about it, what's both, which shows the limit. Maybe it functions as a state of mind of certainty. Their certainty, so long as they're certain about their position when they're giving monologues, but whenever they're engaged in dialectic, they get afraid and they run behind their girlfriend. So you can say what is true about it, what isn't true about it, and what's sometimes true, sometimes not true. These are the three primary things you can say about anything that fit into each one of these categories as you solve the puzzle of the book. So, so the key part of that argument is hypocrisy. And he's targeting the idea there is no truth, it's just what seems to be true, except for what I'm saying. Or it's recursive, another thing that can show its absurdity. It's recursive, leading to absurdity. Whatever seems true is true. Oh, okay. Is that statement true? Yep. Why? Well, because it seemed true. It's like saying, Harry Potter is true. Why? Harry Potter, it says in the Harry Potter book that everything in the Harry Potter book is true. The Bible is true. Why? It says so in the Bible. What convinced you that to listen to the Bible? Because the Bible's true. Why? It says so in the Bible. So the next thing he's doing is focusing on a key word. What's a key word where this whole thing hinges upon? Aaliyah, you might recognize, seems to have a natural tendency or knack or a natural affinity to philosophy, because she already recognized herself that this argument goes round and round. And she also says herself that she also naturally picked out a key word that stood out to her. Seems so appears to be central. So she's naturally functioning like a dialectician. So we can wonder why someone like this ended up with someone like stupid Harry. So, we see Joseph doing the same thing. The word appears seems to be central. Now, in terms of this position, they say what appears to them, do they mean what they perceive? So we can take the key word that they are using in their position, and either push the implications or add some understanding into it By appear, they mean perceive, right? So what are we doing? So we're not only just following the arguments, we're learning how to be a dialectician ourselves. Raising our mind to the level of thinking behind the character that we're exploring. Do they mean perceive when they say appears? Aaliyah says, yes. She says,
Off the perky, call me Kirky.
that idea's off the perky. Call me Kirky. She says,
Making ice cream's a good and courageous thing.
Emma, she didn't say anything about ice cream. Emma.
Drop the attitude, man.
Sorry. I'll drop my attitude. Because they're fond of announcing that each man perceives differently and that no one has any special or privileged viewpoint. That might give them a superior view of things. So they conclude that there can only be different views of things. Let me see if I can fix something here. Where is it? Dun, 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 dun. Where do you live in my apps? Where do you live in my apps? Oh. Whoops. Okay, I got disconnected there for a little bit. I think we're back. Back to green. Yes, we're back to green. Alright, so we're good. So, there are no superior views of things, so they conclude that there can only be different views of things. Now then, if I were to ask you what convinced them that their statement is true, I imagine you'd have an ready answer, Aaliyah. Yes, they'd say that what appears to them is true and can be derived from the fact that knowledge is nothing other than perception. And if something is true, Aaliyah, don't you agree we should be able to apply it and test it in various situations? Since their position applies to what they think is true for man's experience, it would have to be tested and proven in our everyday experiences. Now, suppose we were to ask a believer of this position whether or not they can know something they do not know. Consider, do you believe someone who knew nothing of ancient Greek could read it simply because he could perceive the pages of an ancient Greek manuscript? Think of your own as well. Hey, I've seen a race car before I perceived it. Does that make me a race car driver? No, of course not. But according to their theory, if they perceive it, they should know it. But what is it that they would know? Certainly not what they don't know. Do you think we're taking their position too literally? Perhaps. I'm not sure. And if all it took to know another person would be to perceive that person, wouldn't we all be knowledgeable about one another? And wouldn't it follow that each one of us would be a very profound psychologist? See? Defining their position. It's all perception. Or appears to them to be true, and we've defined it more clearly with the word perception. Definition. How does that function? That no man has a different or privileged view of things, and every man's idea is different, and there's no superior view. And we can test this, or I guess this could be demonstration or it could be division. We could break it down into the divisions. How does that apply to race car driving, to reading a Greek manuscript? Hey, have you heard Japanese before? Do you know Japanese now? That'll be the division. So from these divisions or examples, we could derive a conclusion. Hey, I don't know Greek. If I read a manuscript, I don't know Japanese, I don't know race car driving. There's a common thread that's called synthesis that we can conclude by taking it back to the beginning. Synthesis and analysis, two subcategories of conclusion. So, yes, good thing a lot of relationships are based on the appearance of beauty. Right? Because all knowledge about the person you're with is just a matter of perception. Their appearance. So if you perceive their appearance as beautiful, then you know them. Which is why all of the men out there who are motivated only by physical beauty, they have really fantastic relationships. The looks maxes and frame moggers of the world. They have the best relationships. Because they profoundly know the person they're with. Because they saw their attractive appearance. Right? Pushing the implications of that position in its divisions or its examples to see where it ends up. And it seems to end up in an absurdity here. Fun? Elias says, "Ooh, I see how this can be fun." Or,
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder?
joy and whimsy.
Cookie maxing.
And also cookie maxing.
Spit on me.
Emma! That's
They're
inappropriate.
like a goon. They're a gooner.
To a gooner.
Goon, 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 goon.
Goon. Right, Emma?
You can be a gooner.
Okay, I'm sorry. She can be a gooner. Ah, nonsense. Can be fun, she says. Then, according to what we have said, what would you say about those of us who are nearsighted or farsighted? Just having more fun with it. Ah, good, she says. Why, the nearsighted would only know things close, and the farsighted would only know things far away, and neither would know anything in between. Huh? See the fun you can have with that position? By nailing it down in definition, which the person holding that position will run away from, hide behind their girlfriend, maybe. Define it. See how it functions. Definition. See how it functions. And you can have fun applying that functioning to others. Oh yeah, if knowledge is perception, and nearsighted people only can have perception of what's in front of them, they can be experts in things that are close to them. I can be an expert in this microphone. I'm not an expert at what's over in that room over there. But a far-sighted person will be an expert in that. What's over there? Bed. Expert in my bed. And by the way, the thing in the middle, it's in between, my fan. None of those people would be an expert in fans. See?
I'm joy maxing, okay? And if I aura mog you because I'm joy maxing so hard, that just sounds like your cortisol levels are spiking for no reason.
See? We said to Harry, we are joy maxing by engaging in this dialectic, and Harry, if he's getting mad, then he's spiking his cortisol levels.
I hope he can post more Chinese milking type content / material.
No! What? What a terrible thing to say.
Goon.
What a gooner.
Damn, you really are a gooner.
Damn it, you really are a gooner.
Jesus is gonna come down and wipe this place out. Who cares?
Hey, don't say that. Emma?
It's a total shit show.
That's what I'm saying. Calm down. All right. So there would know nothing in between. Joseph says, yeah, now you make one up. Here's one. When lovers turn the lights off, they become ignorant of their beloveds, and they wouldn't know how to relate to the beloveds or themselves. Yes. Merely by taking their words seriously, literally, we can have a lot of fun with this position. Wouldn't they have to agree that in the evening hours, men become dimwits? And finally, they become ignorant when the dark of night closes in? Here's another one we can chuckle over earlier. If they mean that what they perceive is the way it truly is, then we can point out to them the curious fact that men appear or disappear by simply moving towards or away from us. Right? I like Elia's one. If your knowledge of your beloved is just based on how they look, then you won't know how to relate to her when the lights are off. You become ignorant of who you're with. What does Elia say? The other day I was down at the beach at sunset and I saw the sun disappear into the ocean. The sun must have gotten wet. If knowledge is perception, and you see the sun move in the heavens, then surely it must be happening just the way you see it. Yes, the geocentric theory must be true. Geocentric, we don't revolve around the sun revolves around us, because knowledge is perception and we can see the sun moving around in the sky. Here, try a new approach, Elia. Can you see it, experience it, then remember it, but fail to know it? No, of course not. But according to their position, when you were remembering something and not seeing it, how can you claim to know that thing? Knowledge is perception and you're just remembering something you know. Hey?
Look at this broad.
Hey.
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now?
Calm down. That's not what I'm talking about here. We're having fun.
That guy a suck.
Yeah, all of you, settle down.
Cool as a cuke.
Thank you. So when you're remembering something and not seeing it, how can you claim to know that thing? So further pushing the implications, you come to conclusions based on where it ends. Whoop, wrong board. Whoops.
Die mad about it, bitch.
Hey, I can just change scenes.
They're secretly turned on by it.
Emma.
Goon.
Calm down, Emma. So, when you remember and not seeing it, can you claim to know that thing? And Elia says, I guess not. In fact, if you once turn your head around and you are no longer seeing what was in front of your face, you will become ignorant of what you were just experiencing. Object permanence. No object permanence in this position, then it's all relative to perception. Like a baby turns around and they forget there's a toy there because they've got baby brain. That's right, Aaliyah. I just remembered something. You are still perceiving it when you remember it. I am seeing an image of what I once saw. So I am perceiving it, am I not? That's a kind of perceiving, isn't it? Whether it is really a kind of knowledge is our whether or not it's really a kind of knowledge is our question, Aaliyah. When you recall how the sun appeared to descend into the ocean, would you say that's the way it is, or the way it appeared? Like before, it's only appearance, not knowledge. So if knowledge is the way things seem, then it is only an appearance of knowledge, not knowledge. Okay? So we've come to a conclusion. So they had fun doing their own divisions, and as the dialectician, he encouraged Aaliyah to reflect back on those divisions and make a conclusion. Notice too, it's better to pick the example she came up with, because it's her own words, it's her own reasoning. Wouldn't you rather her to go through the stages of the dialectic herself? Otherwise, she'll be left believing someone else. Which is the very thing we want to get away from. So she made the example of the sun disappearing at the beach. Therefore, she realizes she's not a dumb broad.
Dude, suck my dick.
Oh my goodness.
It's a total shit show.
That's right. She's not a dumb broad, so she recognizes that it's just the appearance and not knowing. So the people who think that knowledge is just a matter of perspective or personal perspective or opinion is not actually getting knowledge, just the appearance of knowledge, is our conclusion. Aaliyah says, right. Now, what else can we do to it? It sure has a fun side to it. That's the fun of understanding. See, while someone who's a believer just gets angry and butthurt and does genocides or holy wars or concentration camps or joins ICE based on their beliefs, and whenever they're questioned, they get pissed, and the best we can do is get a Daily Show reporter out to ask a MAGA a question, and then they get frustrated and we can laugh at it. When you actually have understanding, you enjoy exploring it. You can come to new insights. You can have fun with it. This is the human quest, the human fun, the noblest game, dialectic. See the difference between believers and understanders? One has fun, one doesn't. One is in misery and is a jerk. Is that interesting? Is it interesting that we have a choice between the two? But of course, as the man said at the beginning of this book, requires a bit of discipline and learning to rise above nonsense and understand each other better. So it sure has a fun side to it, says Aaliyah. What else can we do with it? Joseph. Well, consider this alternative. If we both see something and share the same viewpoint, would we have the same knowledge? Yes. Yes, we would. Then seeing as seeing results in the same thing. And as seeing, it would be the same knowledge. Sure, the knowledge would be the same. Then whatever was perceiving would have the same knowledge. In the precise way in which you're speaking, yes. Then if a dog or a cat were perceiving, and if a goat and a pig were perceiving, and if a man and a newborn baby were perceiving, wouldn't they all have the same knowledge? It sure goes to the absurd quickly. Do you believe you can still save this theory of yours, Harry? Well, so what was this one? So he pushed the implication of the idea that perception is knowledge to say that, well, if it appears that the sun is falling, then it really is. We concluded it was just the appearance of knowledge. But now we're looking at it a different way and saying, well, what if there are two people? Because you know what happens with, you know what's the appeal of belief? Any idiot can believe it. A 3-year-old has the same Christian beliefs as a 70-year-old. That's why it's used for oppression and exploitation. You don't learn, you don't change. All you do is fight and murder people who disagree with you. When directed by a billionaire Epstein class member to kill for his fun and profit. That's it. That's the absurdity of the human condition, a loyalty to belief in opposition to understanding. Therefore, another way of putting that, hey, if knowledge is just perception, my truth, personal truth, don't challenge. Everyone's entitled to their own belief, and if a religious nutjob believes it, then that's just as true because they feel it's true. And some people are too stupid, and we need to lie to them because they're too stupid to deal with the real questions of life. Bullshit. That is a fucking patronizing view to give to people. Some people are too stupid, and we need to lie to them about the meaning of life. They can't actually participate in the meaning of their life. So let's give them the fairy tales that we can later allow fascists to exploit. Bullshit. It's a cowardly thing to say. Very patronizing. And in opposition to the meaning of that person's life. All lives matter, as we say. Now, we don't say that to mean that to the way that racists say it to undermine Black Lives Matter movement, but in principle, everyone matters. Everyone's here for a reason. Now, it's called empathy as well, by the way. Now, so that same principle, if it's just a matter of perception and two people can perceive the same thing, then a 3-year-old is just as wise as or knowledgeable as a 70-year-old. Or a dog and a goat can see the same thing a person does. Or a newborn baby, everyone has the same amount of knowledge. If it's just perception. Can we see this move in our map? At first we were saying, okay, we took the key part of the whole then we applied it to the same person, and then a different person. A dog and a man, a baby and a goat. Or could we actually say, hey, actually, we approached the same person to see how it was different. our perception was different than knowledge. But then we went to likeness, because likeness means it's someone else who's like that person. In that they are both like them, in that they are seeing the same thing, but they're different. Is that a better way of understanding it? Remember, we're looking to understand the way he thinks. That's what we're after. As well as learning the particular arguments themselves and following along, because definitely we've been influenced by this way of thinking. And surely some idiot has shown up in a conversation you've been in to silence it in this kind of a way. So, and maybe your parents have done it when you were young as well, maybe. Who knows? So all of it, but also seeing the structure. So, a cat, a dog, a goat, a baby, a pig, a man all have the same knowledge because they can all perceive the same thing. Elias says, sure goes to the absurd quickly. Hey, Harry, do you believe you can still save this theory of yours? Let's see if he gets butthurt, or if he can join in the fun that comes along with understanding. Because while there's 4 classes of belief, because belief functions identify with a part in opposition to the whole, fighting the whole. Those people who read Harry Potter, says the Mormons, we need to beat them up. Or the people who don't wear the magic underpants because we're good. So, that's what belief is, but understanding is to see the whole and relate providentially to the person who has a limitation. So your state of mind is the greater, relating providentially. There's the fun. And because, as we've been seeing, mind or intellect or being is transpersonal, everyone can play. Whereas it's all relative belief. It's always us versus them. It's always war. So, let's see if Harry joins the fun. Whoops. Harry says, have you guys finished having your fun yet? Hooray! So we got our answer. No, he's still being a little bitch. Having fun with understanding. We conservatives, we religion will stomp out your fun. How dare you? We capitalists will stomp out the fun of the working class by owning everything, so you have to be afraid of not affording food and accommodation because we own everything, because we're allowed to exist in an irrational society. See? Can't have fun with us. What kind of a relationship might Aaliyah have with someone like Joseph and not Harry? Have you guys finished having your fun yet? Well, I'll tell you something, Joseph. When you get Aaliyah here to agree with you about my position, I'll tell you something. It's not me that's agreeing, it's her. What? So the pig and the cat have knowledge. And as far as I know, they may have the same knowledge as both of you. Oh, this is his fun, being a dick. All right, I'm not agreeing with you. Just because you tricked dumb woman Aaliyah doesn't mean I'm on board. Yeah, they do have the same knowledge, the pig and the cat. Yeah, it's you. You're a pig and you're a cat. As far as I know, they may have the same knowledge as both of you. I'll tell you another thing. You haven't understood the simplest of things. There is no knowledge. And I'll tell you why. Because everything is in a state of change. Everything is in a state of flux. And that goes for us also. We are never the same. All we can do is catch a glimpse of what changes. And that's why what seems true is true. To whom it seems true. Now we can already recognize the problem with his thinking. Because we have this map. The physical world of perception is the personal. That's the world of change. We should put it on the board. That's the world of color. Becoming. Or change. The realm of mind, or the transpersonal, or the universal, where everyone can play, and everyone's, if it's the meaning of life, it's the meaning of life for everyone, crossing the green line from ignorance to truth, wisdom, goodness. That is eternal. That's the realm of being. So we can already see where his problem is. He doesn't recognize the difference between the physical world and the non-physical world that exists prior and higher. And is causal. So all of these things that we're using and understanding in the dialectic and in the structure of the dialectic, you never see them in the physical world. You see beauty as an adjective. You see a beautiful puppy, a beautiful streamer.
I'm joy maxed. Okay, if I
No.
gesture goon maxed.
Okay, I didn't want that one.
Making ice cream's a good and
No.
Oh, to be a man. Honorable. Filled with honor. And he is walking that talk, man.
Thank you, but I was hoping for a drop about beauty. A beautiful puppy, a beautiful streamer, a beautiful painting. We see it as an adjective in the physical world. We never see beauty walking down the street. We never see whole itself walking down the street. Part itself, beauty itself, justice itself. Notice, that's why we call them selfers, because they all have a selfhood, both in our language and in reality. Beauty itself. Or in the Greeks, as the Greeks would say, self-beauty. So notice, understanding, and as we've talked about today, belief is identified with the lesser in conflict with the greater. Understanding is your state of mind of the greater, beneficially relating to the lesser, as Joseph is with Harry. But knowledge is both together. The greatest superlatives, beauty itself in the highest, justice itself, the whole of all parts, etc., etc. So that's where we experience that in knowing and understanding in the realm of being. So we can already see the problem within Joseph's, Harry's thinking. If the physical world is always in change, the best we can do is catch a glimpse of appearances in time. Let's see what Harry says to that. Joseph says to that. I keep getting mixed up. But Harry, do you really believe everyone is as wise as you? Sure, some are wiser. What's wiser? If you can change another person's belief to something more flexible than what they've got, then you're the wise one. And by that, you make another wiser. If you can change another person's belief into something more flexible than what they've got, then you're the wise one. And by that, you can make anyone, or you can make another wiser. It's just what I told you. The only advice anyone needs is when in Rome, do as Romans do. Don't fight them, join them. Don't laugh because the wise ones agree with me, and the wiser still are those who act on it. Now, Joseph, if it pleases you, then do it. That's all you need to know. All right, so here we are. He's stuck in the world of appearances, so he can't imagine the transpersonal or objective or true, which makes sense because this view is defined by not nihilism. He's not opposed to the physical world of parts, not materialism. He's not opposed to the physical world of wholes. He's opposed to understanding. So he's okay with below the line. And his definition of wisdom is, hey, if everything's can only be a belief based on perception, then what makes you wiser is your ability to be flexible in your beliefs. So when Trump's in office, you can be like all of the right-wing fascists and bootlickers and say, oh yes, Trump is the best. When he's not in office, Trump was bad actually. I wasn't really MAGA. I was against the genocide from the start. I always was against the genocide from the start. Now I think Trump was bad. Who's in charge now? Some other fascist? Oh no, he's good actually now. Now I believe in principles. Because there's no meaning. Nothing matters. No meaning, nothing matters. No real judgment, no knowledge, no basis for judgment. So what makes someone wiser is if they can change their beliefs based on the changing winds of whoever's in power. When in Rome, do as Romans do. To what end? That whatever your personal beliefs about your own goodness, what pleases you, what gives you pleasure, do that. That's it. No principles, no truth. It's all beliefs, and beliefs are garbage anyway. So just be open to changing your beliefs so you can get by in Rome when the Romans are in charge, so you can meet your physical pleasures. That's it. Why? Because what's true in principle is above the green line. Also, we talked about this being not just truth, but goodness. So true pleasure, that which is beyond physical pleasure, or physical pleasure is nothing but a distorted shadow of the true pleasures of peak experiences, participating not in the appearance of beauty, but beauty itself. Peak experiences, bliss experiences, that also come along with knowing. It's not meaningless appearances and images. Meaningful explorations of the nature of reality to facilitate a movement through this green line into more pleasurable experiences that are also wise. Wisdom. So because he's opposed to anything being above the green line, his highest idea of good is physical pleasure. Capitalists. Suck up to whoever's in charge. Nazis are in charge, be a Nazi corporation. Trump is in charge, be a Trumper. Netanyahu's in charge, do genocide. Make some money that way. Why? You can use all your money to go to Epstein Island and engage in physical pleasures. Oh, they're sick? Yep. That's right. Sick beliefs learnt from childhood. Because while truth is above the green line, so too is goodness. The sickness of capitalism. Good thing we've got a map. So, the wise ones all agree, and the ones who can get away with it, they're even wiser still. Everyone who goes on Fox News, or is a Trump supporter, or is a whatever, Nazi supporter, because Elon Musk is a whatever. You get it. Why? You do whatever pleases you, do that. And Joseph says, do you mean if something pleases you, then you can judge it as true? And do you mean anything other than the experience of pleasure when you say please? When you say pleases? If so, if it pleases and is pleasurable, it's therefore true? So what's he done? He listened to his words carefully and started with a definition. and gave it back to him as a question. Is this true? Is this an accurate definition of your position? Taking his words and polishing them up nicely using understanding. Because, again, Harry lacks the discipline. He's not a rational human being yet. He hasn't learned how to use reason. He hasn't learned the dialectic, the one true purpose and way of being for humanity. He's not a philodianoia, lover of understanding. So he hasn't done any of this work. He's just throwing out images and beliefs and catchphrases and aphorisms. So this do as Romans do and don't fight them, join them and do whatever you please. Our friend Joseph demonstrating what it's like to function providentially to someone who's stuck in his limitations of belief is first defining that position. Hey, these key words you said, pleases. What pleases you, you can judge as true. By please, do you mean physical pleasure? Therefore, it's physical pleasure. What pleases you and physical pleasure, is that your standard for what's true? And of course, we were a bit ahead of the game because we deduced that might be what he was saying anyway, because we recognized he started with the position that everything is in change. So we know he's below the line, and because we know that oneness of understanding, the truth of reality, and goodness are the three key words that define mind or being, within which are the terms, the self-logos terms, or the self is. We would say, well, if that's where goodness is, then his idea of good is going to be physical pleasure. What we call addiction. Addiction, I'm entitled to reach my highest good because the good is true. And by the way, my highest good was my highest experience of physical pleasure. Therefore, those people don't realize that their highest idea of physical pleasure is still tainted by their beliefs. So if they were tortured by their parents growing up, what do you know? They spend their billions of dollars going to Epstein Island and torturing others in a similar way because that gives them their most pleasure. They think they're entitled to it because that's their highest experience of pleasure, therefore their highest good. And if good is the same as truth, it is in reality, then they should be entitled to reach their highest truth. Therefore, nothing has been done about the Epstein files in however long, 20 years. Addiction, that's the nature of addiction. Now, we're using capitalism, conservatism, and religion as the easy things to see, but we have to recognize also that's just a magnifying glass for our own soul. Of course, most of us, thank goodness, aren't going to be that bad because in capitalism, it's competition. Meaning the most sociopathic and cruel and sadistic, the more you're rewarded. That's the sickness of capitalism. Same thing for conservatism, same thing for religion. So it selects for the worst of our species. So it's unlikely you're going to be as bad as capitalists, conservatives, and religious, or through people who want to be the leaders of a cult or religion or whatever. But we still have this as the nature of all human problems. All human problems are just this: beliefs. The personal ignorance below the green line. So even our pursuit of physical pleasure or sexual pleasure or intimacy or whatever we do with our time will still be influenced by our beliefs on our highest idea of good, including the people we're attracted to. So it's no coincidence that Harry resembles Aaliyah's dad. And because the soul seeks the good and the true and the oneness, and obviously the good self, the true self and the one self, but the intermediary step is goodness, truth, and oneness, then our highest idea of good, caused by our beliefs, are also connected to our highest idea of truth, connected to our beliefs. And because they're connected as well, we are entitled to pursuing them. That's the nature of addiction. And the best of us should recognize, well, if this is a principle, it applies to me. So is there a way of making use of beauty, love, intimacy, relationships, even friendship relationships like we have here, make use of this time with our friends or beloved to surface those false beliefs that keep us stuck in our addiction to our own personal ignorance, while at the same time using that energy, psychic energy, intimate energy, to engage in what we're doing here, philosophical imagination or speculation on the highest good, with reasoned reflection. Logos, reasoned reflection with words most rationally, and ousia, imagination, self-reflection, and relating to our highest vision. The answer is yes. That's what we're seeing in the cafe, but that's the paradigm for all moments. Can every moment be an exploration about the highest vision of truth, justice, beauty, goodness, or the self? And if you have people who love understanding, beautiful in mind, beautiful in soul, you can engage in that reason, reflection, and speculation every moment. Move quickly like a rogue. Move quickly like a thief, as they say. Quickly cross that line and then that line, fulfilling your purpose. Otherwise, you'll be stuck like Harry is. Can't have fun and addicted to physical pleasures, which keeps us in our ignorance. So, easy to see in Harry, but therefore the need for philosophical midwifery, which is the dialectic used to address those beliefs, the reading of what we're doing here. So we need this reading to recognize it might be a belief and learn the method, but our own personal false beliefs come up all over the show, especially blocking us from this kind of reading reflection. And dream analysis, again, the dialectic to understand our dreams, which gives you a message about both. The two things. What are the two things? To perfect and master the self logos through the dialectic, and to use the art of dialectic to also purify or give up the pathologos, to master understanding and give up belief. Otherwise, you stay addicted, as we see Harry. And by the way, as Aaliyah is recognizing, it's fun. As we are seeing in Harry, the opposite, it's kind of crummy, keeps you stuck in baby brain nonsense, and unable to have the kind of higher fun that's potentially available to us in our relationships that are meaningful. So, we've seen a lot today. It's been a really fruitful episode. And next time, how will Joseph respond to this idea that our highest good is our physical pleasure, and if everything is just belief because there's no permanence or objective or transpersonal, then the highest idea of wisdom is just be flexible in your beliefs so you can get away with it and seek your physical pleasures that you're addicted to. In other words, how is Joseph going to demonstrate taking what we've seen through truth and understanding together and use it artfully to meet Harry where he's at in a way that can encourage his own self-reflection, because that's the game, truth and humanness. How do we make use of what we see in a beneficial way? That's the art. The art one art to rule them all. The art of dialect. So, lots of fun. Excited to see what Harry does with these ideas. And also, props to Harry for not running out the door. A lot of people wouldn't have stayed in the conversation as long as he has. But really, props to Aaliyah. I think the fact that Aaliyah is there is what's encouraging Harry to stick around. And that's the important thing. It's a relationship. We've been exploring texts and reflecting together on this channel for a while. And that's the game. Not a one-off thing, it's a relationship. You see more and more into your ideas, your false beliefs, your understanding, perfecting your understanding and purifying your beliefs. That's the game. And as Aaliyah is recognizing, it's the most fun. But also we're seeing the principle of fun. Where does humor come from? It's not being cruel and smug like Harry, like the conservatives, like the Joe Rogans of the world. Cruel and smug with your ignorance. That's what they think humor is. It's not. It's being able to follow the dialectic and push the implications of what's false. And maybe what's true. Higher kind of fun. Anyway, really, really good. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for the new chatters who stopped in today. I hope you had fun. And I hope to see you all in the next one. Oh, by the way, how are your dreams going? Paying attention to your dreams? Are you looking for these terms in your dreams? Can you apply what Joseph has done already to your dreams? Are there parts of your dreams? Is there a certain state of mind that you're in your dreams? Like Harry was in a certain state of mind while Joseph and Aaliyah were in a different state of mind. How did you function from that state of mind in your dream? And then how did it conclude? Did it conclude in an absurdity or a failure to reach the goal within the dream world? There's a certain goal in your dream. Therefore, a conclusion. You either failed to reach your goal or you succeeded in your dream. That related to a division or what we saw, the divisions in the dialectic. Hey, what were the roles? What was the drama that led to the conclusion? But also we saw Harry has a certain state of mind. Aaliyah has a certain state of mind. Positive one positive, one negative. What was the state of mind while you were playing that role that led to the conclusion? And by the way, as we're seeing, the state of mind is a functioning or demonstration from a key belief about self and reality. In the same way we're learning to examine this everything is relative belief and, as Harry demonstrated, self-identity. I wouldn't know who I was if I dropped this. Can you see what might be the worldview or self-view that you're carrying, that your dream is telling you with that dream drama? And by the way, we saw Joseph looking for key words that stood out. Aaliyah saw the word appearance really played a role. Was it appearance? It seems like there's a key word, says Aaliyah. It was this one. Seems so, appears to be so. Seems so was the key word. Joseph said also the word appearance. So hey, was there a key word in your dream? So using that structure that we talked about with the dialectic, but also are there any key words that jump out? Also, we saw whole and part used today. Are there different parts of your dreams, different scenes? If you can remember different scenes, Can you find some sameness or differences? Is there a repeating theme? Do they explore a theme in a different way? So, whole and part, same and difference, the structure of the drama, and keywords. Take that with you if you are having fun wondering about the dreams and having a look at your dreams that you have. So, it's a win-win-win-win-win.
A win-win-win-win-win-win.
That's what I'm saying.
Win-win-win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win. Hope you're having fun. I hope you have some interesting dreams. Oh, and by the way, do your dreams remind you of something? Might your dreams point to something in your reading? Only one way to find out. Thanks for joining me. Join the Discord. There's a text below, link to the PDF below. You can follow on Twitch, and you can donate to the channel if you like. I'll see you in